Let's start with the Nets and the Celtics.
Yep.
My Celtics. My guy Tatum hit a buzzer beater in game one.
Yep.
I know you want to kill Brooklyn, but, it's just one game, and KD isn't going to be that bad again.
Okay.
They might get Simmons back, and they only lost by one with KD having a really bad game. Shouldn't they actually feel pretty good about that?
Yeah, so that's similar to what Chris Broussard said this morning. Or on Monday morning, I should say, which is, hey, they should feel good. KD's not going to be that bad again, and they only lost by one. That's not how it works in the playoffs. First of all, KD and Kyrie combined for 62 points on nearly 50% shooting. So while KD won't be that bad, Kyrie won't be that good, they're going to combine for around 60 to 70 points per game. But every single moment in these playoffs, when the margins are this thin, count. And no, you can't feel good about losing the game when you have a 3-point lead with 45 seconds left and you give up 2 layups to lose. Boston gets a Jaylen Brown layup, then they have a terrible possession, does Brooklyn on the other end, that ends in a Kevin Durant contested 27-footer, and then they give up another layup to lose the game. Boston didn't have to take a single jump shot to beat them. That's first of all. Second of all, and I have been hammering the coaching point all year, I will continue to hammer it. Either you don't have the roster of a team that has any chance to compete for a title, or your coach doesn't know what he's doing. What do I mean? After Kyrie hit that 3 at the end of the game, with 45 seconds left, put him up 3, Boston called timeout. So Brooklyn then had the chance to put their very best defensive lineup on the court, the best 5 defenders they can come up with, and then, if they get a stop, call timeout themselves, put their best offensive lineup on the court. And you know who took the court? Kevin Durant, sure. Nick Claxton, good call. Bruce Brown, I don't know. Kyrie Irving and Goran Dragic. So either Steve Nash doesn't know what he's doing, or he does know what he's doing, and that's your best 5 defenders. And if your best 5 defenders, 2/5 of them are 36-year-old Goran Dragic and Kyrie Irving, that's a problem. And if you watch that, again, there's the second to last offensive play for Boston. Boston, because they have a real coach and they have real continuity, all they do is they have whoever's Durant and Claxton are guarding. Those 2 guys set a screen for each other 35 feet from the basket, draw Brooklyn's only 2 legitimate defenders all the way outside of the paint, and then Jaylen Brown gets to go one-on-one on Bruce Brown. So that's a huge problem for them. And then also, and this is where I want to give Boston a ton of credit, the fact that they got that rebound off the Durant miss with 14 seconds left. Horford gets the rebound. He kicks it, I don't know if it was White or Pritchard, whoever was out there, who then kicks it to Brown, who kicks it to Smart, who finds Tatum. All 5 guys touch the ball. Boston doesn't call timeout. That is that is a team that knows how to play together, as opposed to a team that has 2 sensational offensive players, and that's it. And now quickly and we're going to spend time on this because this is the most interesting game of the weekend.
Okay.
Also, Durant's got to be better.
Yeah.
Durant, Devontae, we were watching the very beginning of that game. We watched the whole thing, but in the very beginning of that game, how many times did Durant just have the ball taken from him? Just get bullied.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 6 turnovers, and the first handful of them were the ball. He just wasn't ready for the physicality of the game. Boston's not going to stop that. The idea that Boston's been the number 1 defense in basketball for 4 months now. They're going to keep bringing that level of physicality. I don't think Brooklyn's ready for it. And Brooklyn now essentially has to win 5 out of 7, because they had yesterday or Sunday's game 1 and they blew it. Okay, there's other stuff to talk about in this game.
Now on to Kyrie.
Yeah.
We got the full Kyrie experience Sunday. He had 39, 6, and 5 and multiple middle fingers.
Yeah.
Then he said he was just matching Boston fans' energy after the game and said that there's only so much you can take. Yeah. What do you think how fans treated him and how he reacted?
All right, listen, I am not going to sit here and defend the Boston sports fan. I'm not. That is not what I want to do. And I'm sure they were vulgar to him. I believe him on that. All right. And in general, fans, particularly Boston fans, have a bad rep. Utah Jazz fans have a bad rep.
Utah Jazz?
Yeah, particularly. That's a whole nother story we can get into at some point. Philly fans have not the greatest rep. There are certain arenas are going to be extra intense, if you will. With that said, of course you're not supposed to flip off the fans. Like those, and the thing with Kyrie, I'm going to tell a quick story. from me as a child. And I don't know if you know the story or not, and it's not going to make sense at the beginning, but I'll bring it all together as I so often do. Okay. So one time I was probably 8 years old, and I was with my parents. They were shopping for lights. I was at a place called Rinson House of Lights in Kansas City. It's giant, like almost IKEA-sized place that has like lights and chandeliers. It's family owned, and there's a big, friendly dog who just like stays in the store and lays down. So while my parents are looking for lights, we were like, oh, you can pet the dog and play with the dog. And about 10 minutes, do you know this story?
Yeah, I think I do.
About 10 minutes later, you hear the dog bark and I'm crying. And I have 2 giant teeth marks on either side of my face. Like he bit my face like that. And I'm crying and I'm upset. And the owners are so apologetic. They're like, oh my God, nothing like this has ever happened. And my dad calls me over and is like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know. I was petting him. And what did I just kind of nonchalantly, if you remember the story, tell my dad I did? Do you remember?
Did you grab him? Like you grabbed his tail or his...
I put my finger up the dog's nose.
Yeah.
I was a little kid and I put my finger up the dog's nose and he bit me. And I was horrified that he bit me. And the dog shouldn't have bit me. But I also shouldn't have been shocked that if I put my finger up the dog's nose, that he might react poorly. In this analogy, Kyrie Irving is 8-year-old me, and Celtics fans are the dog. Should they be calling him the P word and the B word? No. Should Kyrie be shocked by it? No. And Kyrie's woe is me. Why can't they get over it? Well, let's go through the quick history of this, okay? Kyrie gets to Boston. His first year there, he oddly skips out on even showing up for Game 7 of the playoffs, sitting on the bench. He's not with his team. Then next year, before the season starts, he holds a whole press conference. He's like, oh, I'd love to finish my career here if you'll have me. He immediately starts planning to go play with Kevin Durant. Gets caught talking to Kevin Durant about this at the All-Star game, gets asked about it, and is like, oh my God, friends can't talk with friends. What the hell are you guys talking about? By the way, sidebar, our young players are totally selfish, don't know how to win. They need to follow me. We then get to the playoffs. They have a good first round of the playoffs. Round 2, they play Milwaukee. Kyrie is awful in that series and demands to guard Giannis. Giannis destroys him repeatedly, and then he immediately bounces. He then, last year in the playoffs, gets to Boston, or before he even gets to Boston, first game back in TD Garden, he's saging the arena. Yeah. Remember that? He's saging the arena. Then in the playoffs last year, he stomps on that stupid leprechaun's face, which again, I don't really care about that, but he did it. And then this game, he gives them the middle fingers repeatedly. And the whole time he's like, why can't they move on? What are you like, guys? We're just here to play basketball. Dude, have some accountability. And again, I think fans are out of line all the time. That's a different discussion. But stars in the league don't go around and flip people off. They just don't do it. So much of Kyrie's own drama is self-inflicted. It's just exhausting. Why? I don't want to be a distraction for my team when so much of this is stuff he goes out of his way to do. So yes, fans should treat people better. Kyrie also needs to be a little more like Kevin Durant, if you will, and a little bit less like 8-year-old Nick Wright. All right. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button to get more from the show and make sure to click the bell to get notified every time new content drops. Check out full episodes of What's Right wherever you get your podcasts, or just click the link in the description below.